Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the new screensavers is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com. The new screensavers is brought to you by Braintree. If you're working on a mobile app and searching for a simple payment solution, check out Braintree. With one simple integration, you can offer your customers every way to pay, period. To learn more, and for your first $50,000 in transactions fee-free, go to BraintreePayments.com/NSS. And by FreshBooks, the super simple cloud accounting and invoicing solution designed to help small business owners save time billing and get paid faster. Try it free at FreshBooks.com/NSS.
Now, make your own killer robot. Photos from Down Under with Trey, Ratcliff, and the inside info on Google I.O. Live from the Twit Brick House in beautiful downtown Petaluma, it's the new Screensavers.
Here we are. Thank you to Jim Cutler, the awesome Jim Cutler, who has been our voiceover guy since way back when, back to the Tech TV days. Mike Elgin is here. It's episode number 5 of the new Screensavers for May 30th, 2015. Hi, Mike.
Hi, what's going on, Leo?
Well,
Nice show you got here.
we got a little show going on. We're going to have a lot of fun today, actually.
Yeah.
This is jam-packed. But I first want to ask you about Google I.O. because that's what you have been doing for the last few days.
Yes. Well, it was boring. Nobody jumped out of a blimp, right?
Nope.
And, you know, there was lots of news, lots of little-ish news, but really important news, too. I think the biggest thing for people who watch this show is the new Google Now, which everybody likes Google Now, but now Google Now is now. It's like really, really awesome.
Now, is this going to be the next Android version before we see this?
That's right. Android version M, which they did not reveal what the M stands for, is...
Although,
Yep.
at that beginning when they're taking a trip through the Milky Way, and they showed all the arms in the Milky Way, and they went through our solar system and back to the planet Earth, I kind of thought maybe this was Aaron Newcomb's thought. It was Milky Way.
There was an executive that had a milkshake on his watch.
Oh.
There was a rumor that it was going to be macadamia nut cookies.
They're playing with us, aren't they?
They're messing with us. It's going to be another deal. It's going to be Mars Bar or something like that, sponsored by...
But Mars owns Milky Way, so it could be
true.
they make a deal with
That's
Mars for Milky Way.
I'm pulling for M&Ms.
Well, that'd be good too.
Because I like rap.
Marshmallow?
Yeah, marshmallow's a good one too.
It depends if they make the side deal, you know, like they did with Kit Kat.
Exactly.
If they can get a little money on the side.
I thought that was bogus, actually. I think they shouldn't be making deals with branded candies.
So. They say no money was exchanged? Yeah, right. So you recommended, and I think this was great, that we stream the ATAP keynote on the second day. That's the Google's Advanced Technologies Group.
That's right.
Wow, did we see some interesting stuff.
Wasn't that fascinating? Now, just to set the stage here, ATAP is the R&D arm for Motorola. So everybody knows Google bought Motorola and then sold it to Lenovo.
Right.
What most people missed is that they kept the patents and they kept ATAP, which is a great idea. ATAP is the organization that comes out with the digital tattoos, and they've got all kinds of crazy stuff in the works. And they rolled out some new things, including, I think, one of the most exciting things was a partnership with Levi's to build smart jackets. So they envision and they demonstrated.
Jacquard, Project Jacquard.
Yeah. So they envision you touch the sleeve of your jacket and it controls your wearable devices, it controls your smartphone, it controls things.
I thought maybe I see a day in the future where when we're interacting with our mobile devices, we look like baseball coaches going like this.
Right.
And that's how you're typing,
Well, I was doing that, and Padre thought I'd converted, so it's like, it doesn't really work. But there was another really interesting technology they were looking at, which was essentially a kind of really fine-tuned radar for your hand. So they throw this little tiny chip that you can put in a smartwatch or anything, and you just make the smallest, minutest movements with your hands. You can control things. You can control all kinds of really cool things. Scroll through things, select things, just by moving and using natural gestures. It was really cool stuff.
We've seen before Leap. In fact, I bought a Leap, which was a thing you put in front of your Macintosh screen, and then you can do Tom Cruise style kind of swiping and stuff. This is much better than that.
Much better.
I mean, you could turn a little knob and you see it on the screen turn.
Imagine that in a smartwatch where you can control things just by up here. Instead, you don't touch it, you just, you know, and you can do anything. Like, you know, third-party developers could build any sort of interface, and the best ones are going to be natural. So if you want to go to the next thing, just wave your hand or do something that's a natural movement rather than something you have to learn and memorize.
We saw Android Pay, which is really just a rebranding a wallet to match Apple Pay, or no?
To a certain extent it is. It's Apple Pay for Android, but two things that are different about it and interesting. So Google Wallet will continue. A lot of people miss that.
Okay.
And it's going to be a peer-to-peer debit card kind of thing for like paying off like I owe you $100. I can pay you back with Google Wallet. But Android Pay is in the retail store for buying things with or without fingerprint sensors. Everybody thinks it's dependence on fingerprint sensors. It does not.
Although Android 5.0 will have an API for fingerprints, I think strong authentication is very important in all this
Very
stuff.
important, but we're looking at a year out before these things start trickling out in a real big way. The other thing that's really important, biggest difference between Apple Pay and Android Pay is that Apple Pay has its secure element where it actually does the tokenization and sends the secret code instead of your credit card number across the you know, wires or whatever. That happens on the phone with Apple Pay. With Android Pay, it happens on the internet. So if you're in the basement of Macy's and you don't have an internet connection, you can't use it.
That's not good.
Not good at all.
Well, although, and we're going to get a report from Jason Howell about the ATAP stuff, but they did show a secure store on an SD card.
Yes.
Micro SD card.
That's
that would
cool.
be interesting.
Very interesting.
And that would allow you to allow you that supported micro SD cards, which, as we know now, is virtually no new Android phone.
Right.
But that would be, I think, an interesting way of implementing it. They also talked about the Internet of Things, Project Brio.
Yes.
I'm going to say Brio.
Yes, you're an international type of person.
But also because otherwise, I think of the Brillo pad.
It sounds very abrasive.
Yeah, but Brio means to shine or in Spanish, right?
That's right. Now, there's a lot of confusion about Brillo. You say Brio, I say Brillo. Brillo is essentially Android for the Internet of Things, and then they announced another thing. Now, we heard about Brillo, the information, leaked that information this week. Weave is the really interesting part. Weave is essentially the alternative to HomeKit. It's basically APIs. It's a way for devices to talk to each other, and it doesn't need Brillo. You can use Weave, and you have your device, your smart light bulb, your smart toaster, talk to other devices without Google's Android or Google's Brillo being involved at all. So
I was trying to figure out, is it basically an equivalent to Z-Wave or Zigbee, where it's a protocol?
Yeah, it's an alternative protocol, essentially. And this is the problem with the Internet of Things.
We already have
so many.
Yeah.
But
it's like that XKCD joke. Oh my gosh, there's 15 standards. We've got to create one open interoperable standard. Now there's 16 standards.
That's right. That's right.
So they've created another standard for home automation.
But you have to take Google seriously.
Well, if anybody could do it,
exactly. Samsung, I think, has a good shot.
They have
Apple,
smart
of course,
things. Apple,
will do
Microsoft.
their thing. Yeah.
It's going to take, though, I think, a big company with a commitment to open to non-proprietary to say anybody can use this. And that's not Apple. That might be Microsoft. It's not Samsung. I think Google's the best bet for that. I hope
it has to be said, it has to be said that Google owns the biggest, most widely used, most popular operating system in the history of mankind, Android, of course. Android. And the Internet of Things, according to experts, are going to usher in another 26 to 30 billion extra devices, Internet of Things devices, by the year 2020. That's the prediction. So we're looking at massive scale, and Google's good at that.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Did they hand out, usually at Google I/O you get a Chromebook Pixel or you get something exciting. What was did they have a big hardware giveaway?
The disappointment was palpable, Leo. They
didn't give away the Pixel.
They didn't even, they gave us
a Chromecast 2, anything?
They gave us a Nexus 9 and they gave us this.
You did get a tablet. Well, that's
got a tablet, but it wasn't tomorrow's tablet. It was yesterday's tablet to a certain extent.
And they gave you another hunk of cardboard.
Yeah, you want to check that out. Now
this is they gave this out last year. This is the updated one.
And last year was exciting because as we were leaving the keynote hall, they said, "Oh, we'd like to try this little thing we're calling cardboard." And we were like, "What is that? What is that?" People grabbed it. We got to discover it by fondling it, essentially. This year's like, well, here's the new cardboard. Oh yeah, and we know all about that. Now this runs on iOS and Android, and it can deal with big phones, and it's easier to use because you don't have to actually build it. But it's good old cool cardboard. Now,
we see the problem with this already, which is it is a very solitary experience. I'm going, ooh, and I'm completely leaving everybody out.
Yes, and we all feel left out. We're just, you know.
I'm walking down the street somewhere on a trip.
Now, the big news around cardboard. Cardboard, of course, is the open source thing that anybody can build.
The Eiffel Tower is behind me. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't know it was here in Petaluma. The coolest thing about cardboard is that they rolled out something very, very cool called Jump. Now, Jump is for the production and creation end of it, and it's a three-part system. The first is that it's an open source modular thing. We're looking on the screen now, if you're watching the video version of the show. It's something that any camera maker or anyone can use to create this array of 16 cameras. GoPro is an early adopter of this. They were being demonstrated there. And so, you know, great, by the way, great business for GoPro. They got into the business when everybody's buying expensive action cams. And now they're in the business when people are doing
16
they have
of
to buy
them.
16. It's like their business.
I did a little math, about $6 grand.
Yeah.
So the minute they put out the plan, because they're going to put out plans, you don't have to buy one. The minute they put out plans, I've been talking over there to Pixel Core, to Alex Lindsay's group. We're going to build one, and I think what I would like to do, and I'm going to make my pledge to you now, you Screensavers viewers, we'll put one of those in the middle here while we do the show, so you could, it's as if you're standing there. And you could do the visor or whatever, Gear VR, and look around. I mean, now, while the show's live.
Now, here's what's going to be exciting that people will discover once we do that. Unlike what you just saw with the Eiffel Tower out there on Kellogg
Or what we're
Avenue,
looking at right now.
This is static. It's static. It's
wait a minute.
No, this is the...
That's video.
Yeah, this is out at Sonoma Raceway. They're drifting around the GoPro.
This is live now?
This is off of YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube supports it. That's important.
What's fascinating about Jump is that instead of seeming like a 360 screen around you that you're looking at, it's 3D. It's 3D and virtual reality.
Oh, wow.
So the experience is really great, and that's the second part of this. This is really the more complicated part. They have something called the Jump Assembler, which does computational photography. You realize that when you're looking at images inside this VR, you're not looking at the photographs or the video. You're looking at photographs and videos that were created by a computer, a big computer, right? It's computational photography because you have multiple cameras looking at the same thing from different angles, and this puts it all together so it looks perfect inside the virtual thing, and that's part of what Jump is. And the other part is that Jump videos will be supported on YouTube.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I swear, I was talking with the Pixel Corp folks, and they said, what we were thinking is of doing a play. So you could be in the middle, and there'd be actors all around you. And now, what you need, though, and would you ask the Google Fox? What you need is that as you turn here, you hear the audio there, and maybe the actors behind you kind of hear. But as you turn here, it's louder. I want that, and I want to put it right there in the middle. And I want people. It wouldn't be the way you would primarily watch the show, but if you wanted to, you could be in the show, sitting here. You would. All these wonderful people who came out here, very expensive to come all the way to Petaluma. By the way, I got to thank Wayne, because Wayne brought me my new computer. I'm very excited. Thank you, Wayne, Boston Strong. He brought me this very nice Toshiba T52-100. It's
very portable.
It is portable. You can take it with you, and you know what's great? You don't have to worry about bringing it on the plane, because it has one of these luggage locks. So Wayne did tell me that it's 000, but I could set it to anything I want, keep people out of this. And you're going to love it because nice clicky keyboard, DOS 4.0. It even comes with WordPerfect 5.1. The future is now. The only thing I'm a little disappointed, we were talking last week about flying toasters. Alex brought me, I'm so excited, my After Dark. Look, he bought it at Babbage's for $30. and then, by the way, shrink wrap, still in the shrink wrap. It won't work on this computer. I'm so disappointed. No flying toasters.
That's not exactly a new screensaver, you know what I'm saying?
No flying toasters, but who needs a screensaver when you've got a beautiful orange and black screen? Thank you, Wayne, for bringing me this. Please don't bring me any more stuff, though, okay? I'm running out of room. What if next time I go somewhere, maybe when I go on our trip, there we go, flying toasters. Yeah, I got my laptop with me. Go through the TSA with that.
An airplane tray table would not be able to hold that. It would crush the structure of it.
Are you ready for a help me, Mr. Michael Elgin?
No, but let's do it anyway.
Too bad. Let's do it. Help me, where we answer real people's tech questions, and on the line with us right now, Anthony from Burbank. Hi, Anthony.
Hey, Leo, how's it going?
It's going great. Thank you for joining us on the new Screensavers. What do you do
Thanks
for a
having
living?
me. I'm actually a dedicated technician for a life insurance company here in Glendale.
Cool. What can what can we do to help you?
Well, I've got a custom PC, but I mean, I want to make it a little more custom. So I found, you can 3D print things here and there, but it's all small scale stuff.
Oh.
So is there any like service or any kind of piece of hardware I can buy where I can maybe print my own PC case or something larger
wouldn't that
scale?
be cool?
Yeah, redefining custom PC.
That's a great idea. So like this Toshiba, I just take the guts out and make my own case. Well, the reason Father Robert just magically appeared here, happy birthday, Father Robert, is he is our really our guru in all things make and so forth, and he's a 3D printer enthusiast. And we thought, well, I don't know much about 3D printing. I've watched a lot of 3D printing, but Bree Pettis is a friend, and I've been watching how his great success with the replicator. But we've come a long way since those days. What is this you brought with you?
This is a XYZ printing Da Vinci Junior.
How much is the Da Vinci Junior?
This is $349.
Oh, cheap. Exactly.
So when you're thinking about 3D printers from say MakerBot or from Dremel, you're talking about $1,000 to $5,000 depending on how high quality you want it.
Yeah.
This is really an entry level. Now, Anthony, one of the things that you said is you want to print larger pieces.
He wants big parts, yeah.
Big parts. That's always going to be a problem with these 3D printers. This bed, it's not big, but it's not the smallest you can find. It can only print objects that are 5.9 inches cubed.
We know they're bigger ones because they use them in design. I mean, Apple has big 3D printers, big enough to print an Apple computer. So we know they make them, but those industrial 3D printers are very expensive.
Yeah, you wouldn't buy those. We saw one at CES this year that could print, I think the dimensions were up to 40 feet by 40 feet by 40 feet.
You can print a boat.
Yeah, you print yourself a shed, basically. But that's hundreds of thousands of dollars. What we've done with these smaller devices...
You do bits.
We do bits. You do interlocking bits. Yeah. And like, for example, I've made quadcopters in this printer that are far larger. But you're right, I focus most of my time on making the smaller bits that are going to enhance technology. Now, Anthony, here's the thing. How much do you want to spend?
I'm still kind of like figuring out how much the investment's going to be. I know it's not a cheap hobby by any means.
Right.
But I mean,
one good solution
better.
is to go to a makerspace. There's lots of places you can go, hacker spaces, where they will let you use these devices without having to buy them. Although I can't believe this is $345.
$349. This is a great starting printer, and it prints PLA, so it's that non-toxic. In fact, when you heat this up, it smells like candy. It's sugar-based. So it's a nice biodegradable plastic.
How durable is it, though? Could you make a PC case out of it?
Yes, you can. You can. Now, it's not like ABS. So ABS is the plastic you would find in, say, a car bumper. So that's a bit more flexible. This will tend to snap rather than bending.
Sugar.
But I mean, if you make this piece, this is from a quadcopter I've actually flown. This was supporting about 15 pounds of pressure at any given time. So that's actually pretty durable. What I would suggest, though, is because you do want to get into 3D printing and not just buy a case, get something like the Da Vinci Junior. Try out little bits and pieces. You know, how do I want the front to look like? Are there any special adornments I want on my case? Then you can create a mock-up with interlocking pieces. And when you're ready to go, when you have your design, you know how you want your case to look, you send it to a company like Shapeways.
Oh, Shapeways will print it for you.
They'll print it for you. It will be more expensive, but it is super high quality. It is, I mean, it looks like it's from a factory. You will be charged a lot, so you don't want to make mistakes, which is why you want to buy the smaller 3D printer, mock it up, and then when you have the final design exactly the way you want it, pay for Shapeways to make you the finished product.
That's great advice. And you did a whole know-how on 3D printing.
Absolutely.
Which episode was that? Do you remember?
That was 4 episodes ago or so.
Okay.
Like episode 140. We're doing a whole series on not just how to use the printer and not how to design things, but we're actually going to be doing a know-how for more advanced 3D printers on how to make your own 3D printer.
So I like that advice. Shapeways, by the way, also has models. And, I mean, they're a kind of interesting site, so visit them. Yeah. So I guess, Anthony, what Robert is saying is maybe $350, you get an inexpensive printer, learn how to use it, learn how to use models, create models, then print them, make the mistakes cheaply. And then once you've got a model that you really like, go here, shapeways.com, and they will actually make a hardcore plastic version of it for you.
And to make a full-size really industrial strength case from Shapeways, you're looking at $200 to $300. I mean, it is.
It's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world, but you don't want to make mistakes.
Right.
You don't want to do it 5 times.
And it looks like they do metal as well as plastic.
They do metal if you want to do metal sintering.
Anthony, I'm glad you asked. I didn't know any of this stuff. So thank you very much for calling in. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you both for having me. It's been a long time coming. I appreciate everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anthony.
Take care.
Take care. Anthony in Burbank. You know, we like to, at this time in the show, tell people how they can appear on the show. And normally we use a pre-recorded thing. But since Jim's here, Jim, would you do the honors?
Glad to. Need tech help? The new screensavers are here. Hold on, some product placement. The new screensavers are here with the answers. Email your tech questions to newscreensavers@twit.tv.
Thank you, Jim. We're going to talk to Jim a little later with a flash from the past. He is one of the best voiceover guys in the business and has been donating. It actually makes me tear up a little bit, donating his time and efforts to Twit since day one. And I'm so grateful and so honored to know him. Our show today brought to you by BraintreePayments.com. This was kind of fun. They sponsor our breaking news. They were sponsoring our coverage of Google I/O. By the way, we have a great Twit special about Google I/O, the keynote, and they sponsored it. And they said to me, now they're going to announce Android Pay, so you can't do the Android Pay ad until after they do the announcement. So they gave me 2 different versions of the ad. After the announcement, we were very happy to say that Braintree Payments not only gives you Apple Pay and Venmo and PayPal and, of course, credit cards, it also now does Android Pay as well, and that is really awesome. If you're a mobile app developer looking to get a payment solution into your app, this is the one Uber uses. This is the one Lyft uses. Airbnb uses it, and Hotel Tonight uses it. Living Social, Munchery. When GitHub wanted to start taking payments, they started with Braintree, and they've scaled amazingly for GitHub, and that's one of the things that's great. Braintree can start from your first dollar to your billionth dollar and scale with you as you grow. I'm going to use a silver car when I go to LA. This is that really cool. It's kind of like Uber for car rentals. Yeah. They use Braintree. In fact, one of the cool things is you have the security when you use it as a customer. I love it. I was just reading that 70% of transactions stop cold at the shopping cart. Like people go right up to the point where they're about to press buy and then they just go away. Cart abandonment. Cart abandonment. You'll solve this problem with Braintree Payments. I want you to try it today. They've got everything you need at BraintreePayments.com/NSS. If you want to know more about the Android Pay integration, it's in beta right now, BraintreePayments.com/AndroidPay. And if you would like to sign up, your first $50,000 in transactions will be fee-free. BraintreePayments.com/NSS. We thank them so much for the support of their new screensavers, and we do recommend that as a great solution. BraintreePayments.com/NSS. Jason Howell was also at Google I/O, and he was very interested in some of the kind of blue sky projects. He's got this report on Project Soli and Jacquard. Jason?
Hey, what's up? I'm Jason Howell of All About Android, and I'm here at Google I/O 2015. It's been kind of a quiet year. There hasn't been a whole lot of crazy whiz-bang stuff announced here at Google I/O hardware-wise, but Google's experimental ATAP division did have some pretty cool announcements. They're trying to redefine what you think of when you think of the word wearable. First off, Project Soli. It's a miniaturized radar sensor, allows for fine control of devices like small screen wearables with just hand and finger movements. It has impressive accuracy and control. It's essentially what they're doing here is you are the wearable. There's no contact with the screen. The radar detects even the slightest motion movement with your fingers and your hands, and that data is converted into control signals. Super cool stuff. And second, what if your jacket or your sofa someday had electronic components in it that you could interact with? Things like turning on and off the lights or turning up and down the volume on your MP3 player in your phone. Well, you can do that. That's Project Jacquard. It's a conductive textile for clothing that brings electronic sensor grids into the fabric itself. The yarns can be made in any color and of any size, and they're woven into a single tiny processor that can be tucked away inside the clothing, you know, like a pocket or behind a collar. Google even struck a partnership with Levi Strauss to get things going. Both Project Soli and Jacquard have APIs in the works that developers can tap into it and do some really cool stuff with it. I can't wait to see what they come up with.
I can't wait to use that to control my Toshiba 5200 laptop. That'll be very... Thank you, Jason Howell, host of All About Android, and one of our Google fans around here. I'm going to put you on the spot, though, a little later on, because I like Android. You seem to have abandoned Android.
Well, yeah.
We'll talk about why the Googliest guy I know is using an iPhone. But first, you've heard him all through the show so far. Let's say hello to Jim Cutler, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for our blast from the past. Hi, Jim.
I would say you were scraping the bottom of the barrel to have me on as a blast from the past, but it is a great honor. I am not worthy.
You used to, you've done voiceover. In fact, the funny thing is you might hear Jim's voice. You hear him, you probably even recognize it. But what you don't know is his range is so broad that you hear him all the time, and you don't know it. He's on HBO, MSNBC, ESPN. You do Jimmy Kimmel, Nick, ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox. And we met when you started doing tech TV back in the day.
The coolest thing I do, though, is I'm the guy that goes, netcasts you love.
That's all he does, by the way. Yeah.
And,
and then we have Laura Sunday goes, from people you trust. And then together, all three of us go, this is Twit.
Is Twit.
Yeah, it's magic.
Yeah, we've been doing that for a long time. I met Leo years ago at the other place, and we've been friends ever since. And so many people want you to succeed, and so many people dig this that, I just decided I'd add my little 2 cents. What I do, I don't take myself very seriously. I do a lot of things, but I'm just a voiceover guy. So I add a little tiny bit to Twit, and it's my pleasure. But yeah, it's like singing a different opera every 15 minutes. I'm doing Nickelodeon.
Let me hear your kid voice.
Patrick and SpongeBob. Isn't that weird to see an adult do that? I apologize.
Comes out of nowhere.
But then 15 minutes later, I'm doing, serious news stuff and, MSNBC, and then ESPN 15 minutes later. Again, I'm not curing cancer or fighting in Afghanistan. This is, I don't take myself too seriously. This is just voiceovers, and it's there's a lot of people who do this, and I'm one of them.
Well, yeah, I think you're one of the best. No, you do. You hear him on radio all the time. He does KGO and KNBR here in San Francisco. You were just mentioning you're on WBAL in Baltimore. How many different radio stations do you do VO for?
A lot, just about every market. Just about every. Yeah,
and you're doing that from where you are right now. You do this, you have your home studio, right?
Yes. In the old days, Leo, you had to go in. You had to get on the train and go into New York City and do your thing and then come back. And long time ago, ISDN lines, you remember those?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still around. We use those now. I talk into a box, and very much like Skype, only it's a little better quality, and it comes out on the other end at the network, and they put it right on the air.
Do you have some PA or producer or some pimply-faced kid on the other end going, Mr. Cutler, could you do that again? It's a little faster.
Yeah, I work with really cool people who know what they want, and then they have you do it in a certain amount of time. So I'm working with 100 different people a day, and there isn't a single person I work for that I don't like. It's a cool business, a lot of smart people.
Lilo, if I had a voice like that and did what he did, I would wear a scarf. It was 60 degrees. I'd insure my larynx. I would I'd be so freaked out.
Protect it. Yeah.
You need, Michael, you need a fez.
Thank you. Yes, I do. I do need a fez.
You prefer that or the San Francisco Pier 23 hat?
Oh, that's good too. You look like a little cowboy kid. That's cute. I like that.
Well, voiceover, I would rather not talk about voiceovers because there's not a lot to say about it. You just do it. I'd rather talk photography.
Oh,
which is
I did not know. It's so funny because the only other pro voiceover person I know well, Karen Hutton, is also a photographer.
It's required.
Is that part of the deal?
You have to do both, yes.
So here's your website. What is the address of this?
It's jimcutlerblog.com. Oh, that's jimcutler.com. Boy,
Don't go there. Go to the photo blog, because that is an amazing shot. I love that.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about
your Hell's Kitchen in New York City.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. We see that in Daredevil every week now. What
That's
is
right.
that? That's gorgeous, too.
That's a tower. That's the Jones Beach Tower.
Is that
on Long
infrared you're doing
Yes,
there?
sir, it is. Yes, very good.
So you're pretty serious about this stuff. You have to have a dedicated
My wife and I own a photography business that we do what's called industrial photography, where if they're ripping down a terminal at JFK, our company will go out and do all the documentation for the company. So we do. There's a 360. If you go all the way around, you see the lighthouse here on Long Island.
Oh, neat.
There we go.
Look at that.
I love this stuff. I'm a techie like you are, Mike and Leo. I mean,
Tell me
I
what you
step
shoot
up.
with. Tell me about your cameras.
Sure. I use a Nikon D810. I know, Leo, you have the Canon 5D, right?
I do, but the 810, everybody raved about the 800 and the 810. So I actually just recently started shooting with a Sony A7, which is a similar sensor to the...
Yep, I'm a follower of Trey Ratcliff, who is
the king of the Sony.
And a great guy. I've never met him, but he just seems like an incredibly great guy.
Well,
and,
stick around. He's coming up later in the show.
Sony as well. Oh, really?
Are you shooting Sonys as well?
I am. The 810 I use Nikon stuff for work.
Right.
And then for travel, I use the Sony A6000.
Oh,
which
yeah.
is lightweight as can be. And this little lens, which, Trey turned me on to by just looking at his stuff every day, is so easy to take around. I mean, it weighs 1/4 of what all the other stuff does. So I highly recommend these little cameras. They're great quality.
That's why I kind of abandoned the 5D Mark II. It wasn't the image quality. I loved it, and I spent much money on lenses for it and everything. But it was just so heavy. And oh, look at that. These are that's beautiful.
That's the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. It's challenging to take a picture of the Eiffel Tower that hasn't been taken before. You and Trey are the only people that I know of doing that. Look at that. It looks like you're doing a little HDR on that one.
Yep. Again, I learned so much from Trey Ratcliff. We both are doing, I think, less of an effect of HDR. He'll talk about it. If he's on, he'll talk about it later. But we have the same philosophy of you take reality and you make the little world the way that you want it to look by adding a little bit of extra without going too far.
Yeah. That is gorgeous. So did you see the Google announcements about Google Photos?
Leo, and Mike, jump in, because I know Mike talked about this the other day. I'm impressed. And should we talk about the good part, and then we'll talk about what the price is and things like that. You and I have millions and millions of photos, and they're all over the place.
Yes, terabytes. I'm sad
The great thing about Google Photos is you upload it to Google, and then Google takes it and does the organization for you. It's really pretty cool. I've just tested it a little bit so far, but you can organize by date and so forth. Yeah. But Leo, what's your dog's name? Scruffy, or what's his name?
Ozzy.
I'm sorry.
Scruffy.
Oh, sorry.
He is kind of scruffy.
You can actually, Google will actually identify dogs and make a whole album of that stuff for you. You can have an album of cars. And really, that's the great benefit of this. And I think they're going to go a lot farther than what they have so far. This is just the beginning. But you take your thousands of photos, you stick them up there, and let it organize it for you by date or by subject and by face. I absolutely love it. Now, did you talk about price yet on this? Because it's very interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting, because if you're up to 16 megapixels, they'll give you unlimited free storage. But if you want to store originals, higher megapixel, and actually I was curious, and maybe you figured this out. If, like, for instance, my A7S doesn't shoots 12 megapixels, could I store the 12 megapixel original on Google Photo for no charge? Or are they going to say, oh, no, wait a minute, that's an original, we're going to charge you for that? I don't understand quite how that works.
Michael may know this better than me, because it's the one question I didn't research about storing a RAW file.
Yeah.
Will it take a RAW, Mike?
Yes, it will.
But you pay for it.
You pay. You pay for it if you're above
your storage.
Exactly.
So I have like 1.3 terabytes, because every pixel I get another. So I'm okay, because that's plenty for my RAWs if I just want to store the, my most recent RAWs.
Yeah.
But I think for phone photography, then you can basically think of it as unlimited.
Exactly.
Is it going to process those? Is it going to squunch them down at all?
I believe it will. They were kind of they were cagey about that point, I think, at the show. And there's a lot of this stuff that they haven't decided yet. But one thing that people need to really understand about this compression, for really serious photographers with really expensive cameras, you don't want to be compressing it just on principle. But for most people, even very enthusiastic, the compression is amazing.
Yeah.
They gave some demos of this stuff, and it's really, really high quality compression. So if people are just concerned about the compression for their, for their photos, it's really, you can't tell. There's just no way to tell the difference.
Scooter X, who's in our chat room and is uploading all of his images right now to Google Photos, says there's a checkbox if you use the standalone uploader that says save my RAWs. So you can, but it will count against your total Google Drive storage.
That's right.
But all you do is pay a little bit more, and it's a lot
expensive.
less expensive than the Apple service, which is good for us.
This is a shot at Apple. Apple's struggled a little bit. Their Photos app on the iOS platform and their Photos app on OS X have caused me endless problems. They don't understand network services very well, and it doesn't have a lot of features. And there's very little automated stuff in it. So Google is the app has the same name on iOS. They're offering Photos now for iOS as well as Android, and it does so much more. And I have to say, I think the people who are really threatened by this, because Apple's storage is expensive, is Apple.
It's Apple. And it's also everyone else. Just to
everybody.
Just to frame how complete of a blow against everybody this is. Okay, so it's free. It's for most people. It's free, it's ad-free. They have no intentions to ever monetize it.
Oh, that's interesting.
It solves pretty much all the problems that we all have. You can find any picture you can think of through this amazing search in the first try. It's really that good.
Yeah.
It distinguishes dog breeds. It knows types of food. You can combine things like, show me the taco I was eating when it was snowing, and it will show you that
Flickr
picture.
is doing that already, right? Flickr turned this on, obviously knowing that Google was about to do this, turned this on last month. And it does some of the same categorization. What's fun is I have a lot of photos on Flickr. It did it to everything that's already there.
Yeah.
Flickr gives you a terabyte for free, but there are ads.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a threat to Flickr?
I do. I absolutely do, because the sharing is really instantaneous. You can connect it to any app you have on your system. So you can just go in there and just do a picture. You can literally edit it with sophisticated editing in like 1 second. There's just one button, one
love
slider,
these auto awesomes.
off you go. You can control that as well. And then you can upload it to Instagram, to Snapchat, to like any service that you have on your system. Immediately.
That's one big change, and this is what people who use Google Plus are worried about this. Basically, what Google has done is extract this capability, add to it, taken away from Google Plus, and they're going to make it so that you can share to, in the past it was just Google Plus, now to share to everybody.
That's right.
Is this going to hurt Google Plus?
I don't know. I don't think so. The way Google looks at this is they have streams, sharing, and photos. That's actually the name of their division is streams, photos, and sharing is actually the correct order. And so the streams are unaffected. You can use this with Google Plus like you could before. I don't think it's going to affect Google Plus at all. And I don't think anybody who wants people to be forced to use Google Plus should be listened to. Like, why should people be forced to use Google Plus if they don't want to? I love it, but I don't want to.
You like it, but you don't have to.
Right. So people this is the great thing about Google Photos. It has been liberated from any social network, from any file format. It'll generate a link, and you send that link to anybody, and they click on it, and it'll build a web page for you on the fly for free.
It's pretty cool.
They don't need to download an app of any kind. It's so easy. Yeah. It's great.
Jim, as a pro, you must store somewhere like I use SmugMug for my RAWs.
Yep.
What do you use? Do you use 500 pixels? I
use SmugMug. I would not. First of all, I love this Google service. I really do, and I have nothing to do with Google. I was ready to not like it, but it's really interesting because of the organization. To answer your question, I would not use this as a pro photographer because shooting with the Nikons, they're much larger megapixels. But even if I paid for it, I want better organization than what it could give you automatically. What I do is I organize in Lightroom, and I organize myself, get it exactly the way I want, and then I have a SmugMug plugin that just puts up on SmugMug for my clients.
Right, me too.
Exactly how I want it.
Yeah, I use use Jason Friedel's, I'm sure. I do too. It's a really
yes, I do.
plugin.
I do.
Yeah.
One last little point, and then we can stop. It's interesting. Somebody said that a DSLR user is not a regular user for Google, and that tells you how big the regular camera phone market is. That's like 1% of the people have DSLRs. Everybody else uses camera phones, which is a revolution. So this is a great service for people that have camera phones.
All right, one last question, and we'll let you go. Jim Cutler, our great voiceover guru, and I didn't know this. You know, I've known you for how long? I didn't know you were a pro photographer. But the chat room wants to know, they're looking at your blue eyes. They want to know, are you a Fremen? Do you use the spice?
I love Fremen. Yes. I rub it under my arms.
All right, a little Dune reference there. Love you, Jim Cutler, ladies and gentlemen, and a little blast from the past. Thanks, Jim. Take care, and thank you for all you do for us. We really appreciate it. You know, Miriam Jouar was here recently. She's become my guru for camera phones. She's the one who said I should get an LG G4. Yep. Both the S6 and the G4 are giving us great pictures, but so is the iPhone. We asked her to come up with a list of her favorite camera apps for Android and iOS. Take a look.
Hey, it's Miriam Jouar here. You know me from Before You Buy, and of course from my own blog and my own podcast at tankgrl.com, tnkgrl.com. I got a tip about photography today. You know, phones are amazing at taking pictures these days, but if you want to experiment and do a few more interesting things, there's a couple of camera apps you should be looking at. I'll show you one on Android and one on iOS. Android actually has a few more choices. So here is my Nexus 6. There's an app called Manual Camera you can download from the App Store. And then alternatively, if this one doesn't work with your phone, there's one called Camera FV5 that you can download. So these are the two camera apps that I recommend for Android that let you do full manual controls. So let me show you Manual Camera. Well, as you can see here, it's got a really nice interface. You give this dial here that lets you change things. And here's what the dial controls. So right now, for example, shutter speeds, you can go darker and lighter by changing your shutter speed at a certain ISO. You can also change the ISO as well. If you want to reset these, you just hold it like that and it goes back to auto mode. And focus is cool because I can do things like, I don't know if you can see it here, but in the distance, I'm in focus on the Android now, and I can go far away, and then the back is in focus and the front is out of focus. So you get this really nice manual control. It's got nice little inertia on the button, which is great. White balance and the flash, of course. And, you know, that's really what this app is all about, is giving you full control over the camera. Let me show you on iOS as well. And the camera app on iOS is called Manual, unlike Manual Camera, which is the Android version. They're different publishers, different apps, right? But they do the same. So this is what the Manual app on the iPhone looks like. And as you can see, you know, you can change things. Here's your focus. Shows you a little reticle like that. So right now I'm focused on the background, but I can focus on the foreground, and it gives you this like larger view so you can get better control. Down here, you can adjust the exposure, the EV, which is nice. You can also adjust shutter speed. And for that, you have to set the ISO here and then the shutter speed up here. So here's your shutter speed, as you can see, and here's your ISO. And so that's basically it. You got your white balance over here, your flash. And, you know, if you want to go back to auto, you press the little A button down here and everything's back to auto. So again, you know, these will make your camera a little bit more powerful. If you want to experiment, you know, try new things and have fun with your phone taking photos. This is not about video. But, you know, download them, have a look. I think they're not free, but they're very cheap and they're definitely worth getting. And experiment and take great pictures and have fun with your camera phone. Your phone is now your camera. It's the best camera you have with you. And that's it.
Thank you, Miriam. Miriam Jouar, who appears regularly in All About Android and many of our other shows and is really a phone and, I have to say, smartwatch expert. By the way, you're noticing more and more manual controls in the standard camera apps. The Google camera app, this LG G4 that Miriam told me to get has some great manual pro controls. Even the iPhone now has more and more manual controls, manual exposure and so forth. So I think that it's clear that more and more camera phones, people are expecting you to use a camera almost as a pro, you know. The only thing it doesn't have really is optical zoom. And I don't think you want that because it makes it too thick. All right, we've had such great fun. This is kind of episode 3 or part 3 of our interview with Kickstarter projects and kind of building computers, creating computers. Jason Gao is here. He's co-founder and CEO of Q Fusion Labs. So great to see you. Thank you for coming, Jason.
you.
We should point out his T-shirt says, yes, Bazinga. All right. Sheldon would be proud. This is something that is currently on Kickstarter, at least as we're recording. Another 19 days to go. How much have you raised so far?
So far, we raised about $79K, and our goal was $50K.
So you're funded.
We are funded, yeah, and it's exciting.
Now it's for the stretch goals. What was the premise? What are you trying to do with Qubit?
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to create an easy way, but powerful, for someone to get into electronics and programming to build projects without having necessary a skill in engineering.
Right.
So it's a very easy entry point, but at the same time, it allows you room to grow. We do that through visual drag and drop programming and plug and play smart electronics. At the same time, as you get better, as you learn coding and wiring of your electronics, you can still code in manual Lua, or you can use a combination of Lua and our visual programming.
So Little Bits is a sponsor, and it was also a Kickstarter project. Same idea, which was snap together stuff, but Little Bits is really aimed at kids. This would be like the next thing to do after you did everything you could do with Little Bits. Now you can build a tank, or this is a quadcopter that you built on your on the Qubit platform. That's pretty amazing. So show us some of the modules that you start with.
So we start here with the Qubit controller, and this is kind of the brain. This is where the software runs.
Is this what processor is there in this?
We use a PIC32 in there.
Okay.
And it's a 32-bit MCU.
Okay.
And we have various modules which we call smartware. So this is like an LCD screen. We have servo modules. We have about 24 now that we're offering on our Kickstarter.
They're all sorts of cool stuff. There's a little, what is that, a propeller?
That's a servo. That's a servo motor for driving things. Yeah.
I see. You would connect that to something. And there's switches and and now there's no soldering involved, right? All of this is plug and play kind of?
Correct. So there's no soldering involved, but at the same time, we just reached our 75K stretch goal a couple of days ago, and that we just released the GPIO smartware for that stretch goal. So now users have the ability to wire in their specific electronic components and tie in solder to their specific circuits.
So if you are sophisticated enough to have additional stuff that you've custom designed, you can integrate Qubit into it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
The thing that I thought was absolutely unique, by the way, what is that? Is that are we going to shoot somebody with that thing?
Yeah. So
what is that?
That is a robotic Nerf gun.
Yeah.
2 modes right now. You can manually control it because the Qubit controller comes with built-in Bluetooth, so you have remote control out of the box.
Oh, that's neat.
So
with your smartphone, you can control, or using this.
Yeah.
This is you're looking at now. This is Windows, or no? Yeah, Windows software. This is the Qubit software, and this, to me, this is your secret sauce because I love the modules. I love the variety.
That's it. Let me just...
So you've interfaced it up. Now you're going to load in the program you wrote.
So the program is actually already on the Qubit controller. I'm just bringing it up because what we have here is our virtual controls.
So you write this on the computer and then load it into the Qubit software.
Exactly.
Or Qubit
exactly.
hardware.
And at the same time, you have real-time connection, so you can manipulate the parameters during runtime,
so
which is what we're about to do.
That's nice. Okay,
right,
great.
Right.
All right. So I see two modules there: rotate gun, which is it's working, and fire gun. Don't. Okay. Those are just Nerf. They couldn't. How much damage?
Let me go this. I'll go this direction.
Okay.
So this starts the firing sequence.
Oh my God! It's fully automatic, ladies and gentlemen. That's cool.
Yeah, this is on remote control and it has 2 motion sensors, so we have the ability to put it on remote sensor.
So obviously the Qubit stuff doesn't include Nerf guns. It includes how does it include a trigger puller? What is?
We use 2 servos on this particular
That's the servos.
Nerf gun.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your PIC chip has to do the communication.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, that is pretty slick. Can you show us some more software here?
Absolutely. So let me.
Could I make an autonomous Nerf gun that would search and destroy Karsten Bondy when he came into the room? Could I make something like that?
The possibilities are endless. I wouldn't be able to tell you whether or not you couldn't. But yeah.
This tank is kind of cool. Tell me a little bit about this. This is really neat.
So this tank, we used a metal platform so we can kind of go off-road. And right now it just has a simple program. We used a Mi arm, which has taken a little bit of a toll. We took it to Maker Faire, so for 3 days, it was being run around by kids.
And you can grab things in the little arms here like that. That's awesome. This is how you start doing battle bots. Little hand is the first thing, then pretty soon it's a spinning saw and flamethrower.
Right.
All right. Wow, look at that program. This is complicated.
Yeah, so there are a few things going on here. We have virtual buttons for all of the movements. For example, forward here is a virtual button that triggers both servos inside, continuous servos inside the tank to move in the same direction. And you can see over here, this virtual button is rotating to the right. So you have one servo going one direction, another servo going the other direction. I can show you exactly how that works.
Whoa! A smart kid could do this, but it's kind of something maybe you start with maybe a middle schooler or a high schooler and up, right?
Yes, yeah. So far, we've 10 and up has been
10 and up, okay. Yeah, a motivated kid would love playing with this. In fact, you said at Maker Faire you had kids playing with it.
A ton of kids.
That's really neat. Were they playing with the software too?
Yeah, yeah. So especially with the meat arm.
They love that arm, huh? Go ahead, just grab. Ah! Oh, sorry. Never mind. Sharp. Very cool. If people want to support you, or what do they get, by the way, and how much does it cost if you go to Kickstarter?
So the starting kit is $99.
$99.
It comes with the Cubit controller and 4 different types of smartwares, including sensors, servo, buttons.
And of course, you get the software too.
Yes, you do get the software for free. And there's a lot of virtual controls within the software that reduces the need for additional displays or input on the hardware side.
And then there are higher levels, I'm sure, if you want to get more units, things like that.
Absolutely.
You were telling me this quadcopter, you could build this, and it could both fly by remote control, as most current quadcopters do, but it could also be autonomous?
Yeah, so this one is actually autonomous. I just got the platform Wednesday, so it still needs a little bit of work, but it has flown autonomously.
It can fly by itself into a tree, as, you know, with or without help, right?
Yeah. And over there, I don't know if you can see, but there's an optical distance sensor mounted on the servo right in the front, right over there.
Yeah.
That black
this thing
right
here,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's mounted on the servo, and what that does is you can point it down so that the quadcopter knows how far it is off the ground. If you're flying indoors, it can scan upwards so it knows where the ceiling height is, or you can point it straight ahead like it is now to avoid obstacles.
Or find Karsten Bondi.
Yeah.
Right. There you go. There he is right there. Go ahead. See? Yeah.
We're working on machine vision for that.
What's this? They say here I should ask you about the secret book demo.
Yeah, so the secret book demo, that we got inspiration from Indiana Jones movies, right?
Yeah.
And like the secret a bookshelf. So what it is, it uses 2 Cubit controllers, one inside a book and one inside this chest. And, you know, go ahead if you want to pull the right book there.
Finally we get Karsten. Oh!
Here we go.
You have opened the secret chamber. Whoa. Or it could be, that could be a door to the basement or any number of things.
It could be anything, yes.
Ah. I've always wanted one of those in my secret lair. Look at that. To the Batcave. Congratulations, Jason. This looks like a really great project. You already are funded, but people still can get involved if you go to Kickstarter.com and search for Cubit, C-U-B-I-T. Q Fusion Labs is the name of the company. Great luck to you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank
and
you very much.
Keep up the good work. Look at that, $79,000. I bet you by the time this airs, you'll be $100,000 and more.
We also have a quick URL, which is Kickstart Cubit.
Kickstart.
Cubit.com.
Cubit. Cubit.com. That's easy.
It goes straight to the Kickstarter.
What do you envision, like you know, a year, 2 years, 5 years from now? What kind of things are you be doing?
Well, we want to start the community of people using this platform, people who are not able to use the existing Arduino Raspberry Pi platforms beforehand.
That's
and
great.
so gather more people into the makerspace, get them to build more, work with the kids, and also room to grow with Cubit. You know, you can handle a lot of advanced protocols as well as easy entry protocols.
Very good. Jason, congratulations.
Thank you,
You brought
Leo.
his whole team, a big group of people, smart programming types. That's great. Nice to meet you all. Coming up, Padre is going to show us something he knows a lot about, gasification. But and it's his birthday too, right? That's nice. But first, a word from FreshBooks, our sponsor. I tell you, I love FreshBooks. FreshBooks saved my life when I was going to Canada 1 week a month, and I had to invoice Rogers, and I had to do it in Canadian dollars, and I had to expense my airfare, my hotel, my meals. It was complicated. It got to the point where, come to the end of the month, I'd actually dread firing up Excel and Word and figuring out what I was going to invoice, print out the invoice, mail it to them, that sometimes I just didn't even do it. I'd 3 months would go by, and finally I'd get around to invoicing them. Amber MacArthur told me about FreshBooks. It was a young Toronto startup at the time. I used it, and it changed my life. You'll change your life, too. Now here we are, a decade later, 5 million people use FreshBooks to create invoices, to get paid faster. You know, one of the things that makes FreshBooks work so well is when you send that invoice to the client via email, there's a pay button right on there, and they can use standard online payment services, all of them, so that you will get paid faster, on average 5 days faster. And it just takes you about a minute to make an invoice instead of hours of slogging. One of the reasons is the FreshBooks app on iOS and Android. You could take pictures of receipts, get them right into the invoice with your camera phone. You can manage them there. If you bill for hours, they've got a little timer. It makes it very simple to keep track of billable hours on the go. And all of that gets sucked right up into the FreshBooks invoice. If you ever need help, they are really nice, personable people. The FreshBooks supports rock stars. They're still in Toronto, still doing a great job. They're there to help you. It handles all the different currencies, makes it easy to get paid. And by the way, if you ever have a client that's slow pay, it'll handle that too with automatic reminders. Getting started, so simple. It's free to try right now for 30 days. If you are doing invoices by hand, you've got to go to freshbooks.com/NSS. Actually, if you're using a competing platform, try it too. This is so beautiful, so simple, you'll love it. All we ask is you mention NSS in the How Did You Hear About Us section. 30 days free today, freshbooks.com/NSS. And we thank them so much for supporting the new screensavers. What is gasification? Father Robert tells all.
I know here at TWIT we have talked a lot about alternative energy, but there is one that we haven't really talked about, and that is the use of gasification. I'm here with Richard, who's going to explain what gasification is.
It's an old technology. Basically, we're superheating a hydrocarbon, and we're processing the smoke into a clean gas, a combustible gas that will run a standard engine with a generator connected to it. So today, we are running a 20 kilowatt generator on walnut shells.
This is one of these technologies that has been around for a very, very long time, but it fell out of favor because, well, gasification has always been very inconvenient. You need a lot of material that can provide hydrocarbons. You need heat to be able to heat those hydrocarbons out of the material, and then you need some way to filter it into an engine. What have you done here to turn it into an all-in-one solution?
This is a integrated machine that processes the hydrocarbon through the gasification process, the filtering it, cleaning it, and providing a clean fuel source for the internal combustion engine. This is marketing for places where they're paying an extortionate amount of money for diesel. We're replacing diesel generators in the developing worlds where they have a lot of biomass that's available and no diesel.
Now, if they wanted to find out more about gasification, about what you do for developing countries, where can they go?
allpowerlabs.com.
I'm Father Robert Ballester, and the future might be gas.
I know the past was gas, that's for sure. Thank you, Robert, at Maker Faire. You know, people have been asking, what are these mats? We had one over here. We have these mats here. We use them all the time. And it was just a fan who came by one day from a company called MakerMat, MakerMat.com. They make mats in a lot of different, designs and stuff. And he made us some beautiful twit ones. It's really nice. We've been using these.
You're really shattering all my delusions. I thought they were giant mouse pads.
Well, actually, they are. They even smell a little bit like mouse pads. You want to air them out on the back stoop before you use them too much. There it is, MakerMat.com. And I don't know what the twit mat costs. They're not cheap, maybe $50, $60, something like that. Are you ready for? Oh, look at that, academic blueprint, just $30. Well, there you go. Are you ready for another call? Let's take it. It's time for Help Me Part 2. And on the line right now is Burton. Hello, Burton.
Hello, Leo. How are you?
I'm great. Where are you calling us from?
I am down here in Tucson, Arizona.
That's nice. You're on the balcony. Are you about to do the love scene from Romeo and Juliet, or?
No, I'm actually on the ground floor. It's getting really hot down here. About 106 tomorrow, I think. God. So I think everybody tries to stay inside and do our love scenes indoors.
A good idea, I might add.
Always.
What can I do for you? What can we do for you today?
Yeah, so I had a question about the new Android Wear OS update that was announced, and
Yep.
I think it's actually out in the wild by now. Because up until now, all of these wearable devices, be it the Apple Watch or like the Moto 360, have required to be tethered by Bluetooth to a mobile device that you have on your person or within range. And it sounds like with this new OS update that there's a possibility that some Android devices, Android watches, will be able to function on their own, just if they're connected to Wi-Fi, without being on, you know, via Bluetooth. And I was wondering if that's true.
It isn't.
Oh, sorry.
I know, you got your hopes up.
Yeah,
so far,
that's great.
smartwatches, there's only one that I know of that's a Samsung watch that can operate on its own. It has its own phone number and everything. This is, by the way, this is the LG Urbane. LG has updated all of its watches, the Gear Watch and the original Android Wear Watch, to work with Android 5.1. And you got the Wi-Fi part right. In fact, I can go to settings and I can show you. But it's not exactly what you think. Let me slide this over. This is, by the way, one thing that's new in Android Wear 5.1. When you slide it over, you get a list of applications that you can run. Slide it one more time, and you get a list of contacts. You can't call them. You can set up a call, but you have to pick up your phone to do it. But let me show you a little bit about the Wi-Fi setup. It does support Wi-Fi, and if the hardware in your watch can support Wi-Fi, you can use it. But it doesn't work quite what you thought. What it really means is we're going to connect to the Wi-Fi in here, right? We're connected now to Twit Production, and it's going to use that to talk to the phone. So what that means is much like the Apple Watch, the phone can be anywhere that's connected to this network, and I'll be able to communicate with it. I'll be able to send data back and forth. And Mike, you were explaining to me, it's more than just within this network. This does have internet connectivity as well.
This is one of the subtle differences and things that are better about Android Wear over the Apple Watch. You can be on a different Wi-Fi network with Android Wear. Apple Watch requires the same network. But, you know, just if I can...
As long as my phone is on the internet.
Exactly.
And the watch is on the internet. They don't have to be the same Wi-Fi, and so I'll get notifications and that kind of thing.
And what that means is that what he's trying to do, you can actually kind of sort of do, because what happens is you leave your phone at home and on your home Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Then you go to work and you're on your work's Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And your phone becomes a cloud server, essentially, for your watch. So you're without your phone, you're running around doing stuff. And so kind of, sort of, you can kind of do it.
You can't make phone calls.
No, you can't. But who wants phone calls?
You can't surf the internet.
No.
You can't download music.
But you can get notifications.
You get Google Now cards and that kind of thing. There's another thing they showed, and one of the things, I think this is another one that Android Wear beats Apple. This is the ambient display, or the always-on display. Right. Unlike the Apple Watch, which goes completely dark when you're not looking at it, when you're not looking at an Android Wear watch, it always continues to display some simple low-power version. This is a OLED display, so the black and white version doesn't use a lot of power. This is a weather display that I really like, with pretty pictures on it. But the other thing that's cool, and they announced this at the event, is that there's some apps like Google Keep that also have low power modes. Yep. An example they use, and actually this is one that I appreciate. Let's go back to, it's hard to do this upside down and backwards like Ginger Rogers. The thing that I use Keep for is my shopping list. And so I'll launch Keep, and you'll see I have a shopping list for house crap, I have a shopping list for Orchard Supply, and I have a Petaluma Market shopping list that looks like that. I can actually use this, check it off, do all the Google Keep stuff on my watch, but even better, I'm going to let it, I'm not going to play with it for a little bit, it'll go into the low power mode. That watch, that shopping list doesn't go away.
Yeah.
It doesn't go back to the watch face, it goes to a low power version of Google Keep. Now, most apps don't do this yet.
Right.
But now that this feature is available in Android Wear 5.1, many will. And that, I think, is another nice feature of Android Wear.
Although it has to be said, how do you know that the light goes off on your Apple Watch when you're not looking at it?
Because you're not looking at it.
But how do you know?
Because I always see a dark face. So look, there's the ambient version of the shopping list. So I still will know what aisle to go to. Based on that. I think that's great.
Yeah, that's a great feature.
Now, unfortunately, Burton, do you have the Moto 360? I see that's what you were asking about.
I was just using that one as an example because I knew that it had an internal Wi-Fi antenna.
Right.
But no, I don't actually have it. I'm just kind of interested in
I think, you know, eventually they'll they'll update the Moto 360. I don't think they have yet.
The other watches that are in that category too are the LG Watch Urbane, Sony Smartwatch 3, and Samsung Gear Live. They all have the Wi-Fi electronics.
Okay, so there you go. So as soon as they push 5.1, at least that feature will turn on. I have to say, I'm very happy with the Urbane. One thing LG does is they use OLED displays as opposed to LCD displays. That's what Apple uses too, and I think OLED looks a lot better.
It does.
I've been very happy with this watch, even though Lisa says it's just butt ugly. Do you think it's ugly?
No, it looks like an expensive watch.
It's a manly watch.
I actually think the Apple Watch is kind of ugly, personally. I like it, but...
Burton, unfortunately, I hate to dash your dreams. It's not like your watch now you can go for a run or whatever, but it is true that notifications will continue to come in no matter where you are, as long as both your phone and your watch are connected to the internet.
And that is really good news. But
I
what I was wondering then is that, like, could you use something then other than a phone, like an Android device that's connected to your home internet that is not a phone, so I'm not having to pay, you know, a cellular.
That's interesting.
Well, but you can use a phone without having a cellular connection as well. So if you have an old Android device that's on, you know, you could use that.
So far, none of the Wear watches connect to tablets, do they? You have to connect to an Android phone.
I don't know.
That's a good question. Burton, we're going to have to look into that one. I feel like, look, I like the Apple Watch. I disagree with you. I think it's the best looking watch out there. But functionality-wise, I think that they're neck and neck, and there's some things Android Wear does that the Apple Watch doesn't do, and vice versa. And I think this platform has a long way to go, and I'm actually excited to see what happens with both watches. Right now, because I like Android phones, we're going to have a little debate later on. I like Android phones. I'm using Android Wear. I see Mike has gone to his Apple Watch. He's obviously sucked into that reality distortion view.
There it is.
Burton, just teasing. Thank you for the call, Burton. It's great to see you. Stay cool, man.
We'll try over here. Thanks, Leo.
Oh, man. How hot is it right now?
103, but who's counting?
Oh, that's nothing. That's nothing. All right. We're going to, if you, oh, hey, Jim Cutler's here to tell you how you can be on the show, too.
If you need tech help, the new Screensavers are here with the answers. Email your tech questions to newscreensavers@twit.tv.
Could you do that again half a second slower?
If you need help.
Mary Jo Foley, give us a tip.
Hi, I'm Mary Jo Foley, co-host of Windows Weekly, and I have a very interesting tip for those of you who love code names like I do. So if you're wondering, how do I find out about all these Microsoft code names? It's not just because I sneak around on campus, try to get people to tell me things. Instead, there are ways you too can try to find out code names. Here's what I do. I go to the Microsoft careers site often, enter different code names that I might have heard around town. Also, enter the word code name into the job search. You'll find many amazing things. You can also do this on LinkedIn. Just try entering some things that you've heard as Microsoft code names, or try entering Microsoft.com and code name. Find what people have been working on. You can kind of put two and two together and figure out some things that you might have heard about and you're wondering when they're going to be out. That's what I do. I shouldn't probably be telling this because Microsoft will probably block me now from going on the careers site, but there you go. That's my tip.
Sit down. Thank you. What did you do? Oh, you're going to take a picture with your watch, aren't you? I can do that too.
Really?
Yeah.
But not with an iPhone.
Yeah, with an Android phone. Look, I'm going to take a picture of you with my phone. See who gets it first. Speaking of taking pictures, Mike Elgin is here. It's great to have you. Leo Laporte, the new Screensavers, Episode 5. And lo and behold, one of my very, very, very favorite people in the world is right there on that screen, Mr. Trey Ratcliff from New Zealand, from Queenstown, New Zealand. Hello, Trey.
Hello, Leo and Mike. How are you guys doing?
It's so great to see you. How's everything going, Trey?
Everything's amazing. It's been a wild few months and lots of stuff going on, but it's been great. You know, I just love taking photos. I'm obsessed, but I think it's a fairly good obsession and addiction.
Everybody knows Trey's website, Stuck in Customs, is the place to go if you want to learn high dynamic range photography, HDR photography. He is a world traveler. His travel photography is amazing. You still, to this day, if you go and you look for the Google Plus app on the Google Play Store, your picture of China is the featured Google Plus post. It's so great to talk to you, Trey, and I'm sad that you moved so far away, but you seem to be getting around. Look at this stuff. Incredible.
Yeah.
Just beautiful stuff. What are you shooting these days, Trey?
I am shooting with a Sony A7R.
You like the art?
Right here.
That's the first one, the high, or the second one, that's the high megapixel count. The same
Yeah,
sensor
this is
as
the 36 megapixel job.
Yeah.
And no, I'm not sponsored by Sony, I want to say. But, you know, I just think it's the best. I used to shoot Nikon D800s, D2Xs, D3Xs. I love it.
Isn't that the same sensor as the 800?
It does. Sony makes the big sensors for the Nikon.
Yeah.
And, you know, when they're actually vertically integrated inside, they can do a lot more with the electronics, and it's just great. Sweet Sony.
So I'm going to just real quickly, because Mike wanted to show off how his Apple Watch could take a picture. I'm going to take a picture of you. There you go. 3, 2, 1. Boom. Booyah. Go ahead. You take your picture.
All right. I'll take 10.
Do you do any camera phone photography, Trey, or is it just too down market for people like you?
No, I do a lot, especially around my kids and stuff, because I don't always have the big rig around, right? And kids are always doing cute stuff, and sometimes I'm just, you know, I'm traveling somewhere, and I just, for whatever reason, I don't have my big one, so I might take a quick one with my phone or even Google Glass. I still use that to record a lot of tutorials and stuff, and so I do quite a bit of mobile photography.
We should mention the tutorials that you did via Google Glass were kind of amazing. You would wear the glass and go around. Now you have the Arcanum. Tell us a little about the Arcanum.
Yeah, so this is sort of our moonshot, and we're basically redefining what it means to learn photography. We've come up with a totally new system that's actually based on the ancient master and apprentice system, and it's going great. We're about a year old. We have over 800 active apprentices. And so we have masters and apprentices. The masters come in and they get to choose like about 20 apprentices, and they kind of level up in sort of this Harry Potter type school. You have quests, you get critiques. It's the big difference between this and other ways to learn is this is extremely personal. You have your own master there that's, you know, leveling you up, giving you quests, and just guiding you down your own personal artistic path.
It's kind of a neat idea, and many of the masters are people who watch this show will know very well. Some of our favorite people are among. And there's Karen. We were just talking about Karen Hutton. She's one of the masters.
The great Kate Hutt.
Rick Salmon, Jeremy Cowart. Look at the people. These are some of the best photographers in the world. Wouldn't that be cool to...
Oh, totally. You know, and Trey is really 3 people. He's a teacher, he's a photographer, and he's also a traveler. And as somebody who's lived abroad a lot and done a lot of photography abroad, Trey, I'm curious about what kind of tips you have for people who are going to who knows where. It could be anywhere in the world where theft is an issue. There's a lot of, you know, there may be a lot of sandy environments, maybe in the Middle East or something like that. What would you recommend for somebody who wants to take really great pictures, but isn't really a pro photographer carrying around a bunch of lenses and expensive cameras? What would you recommend for somebody like that?
Well, I think my advice is a bit counterintuitive, because a lot of times when you travel to someplace new, by default you're a little bit reserved, a little bit held back.
There's Jason, who's shooting behind-the-scenes photos right now with his 5D Mark II.
This is live.
Yeah, go ahead, keep talking. I'll tell you Jason's story in a little bit.
Yeah, and so, you know, your default reaction when you go to a place and people are coming up to you and, you know, trying to sell you stuff, or, you know, you tend to stay reserved and not go out there. But I'm the opposite. I'm super open. You know, I say yes to everything. And I think if you have just sort of this open attitude and you just freely take photos of anything interesting and you experiment and you're like a child, you know, do what a child would do, because that's actually your natural state. Grown-ups are quite held back sometimes, and they can't fully express themselves. So if you're childlike and open, this kind of creativity will also show in your photography.
That's great advice. It's not always easy, though. Didn't you lose? You got your cameras were stolen.
I did. It got swiped in Germany. I was not too long ago, about 3 months ago. I was on a train from Cologne to Dusseldorf, and some disaffected Utes got a hold of my bag on a train.
This is a widespread, because another one of our hosts, same thing happened. You put the bag under the seat, right?
Yeah, and usually I'm really smart about it. Usually I put my foot through it, or I got distracted. I was looking out the window taking another photo with my other camera, and I didn't really get upset about it. There's no reason to get upset about it. You know, it's just stuff, and I consider it like a tax on good karma. You know, everything's back to good now. You know,
you're such a Buddha. I can't say he is Trey. And this is the way Trey is. One of the sweetest. You're Buddha-like, absolutely, in this, and I would be livid. You replaced was it all your Sony gear? What was it?
It was Sony gear and a lot of Leica gear. I put a lot of Leica lenses now on my system, but it's actually an excuse to go shopping. You know, have a shopping day. I've got in touch with my female side, just have a little shop fest.
What's that there?
This is the Leica 90mm f2, and then this is the little adapter on there that lets you attach it to the Sony.
Whose adapter do you recommend? Because there's different adapters.
I have a super hot tip. So what I did is I thought, well, you know, it's just a piece of metal, right?
Yeah.
Why is it $150? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And so they have cheaper ones on B&H and Amazon that are like $14. So I got 2 of them, and I tested them. And it's, you know, there's no electronics because it's still a manual lens. Right. It's just literally a piece of metal.
Yeah.
And so I got the cheaper one, and whenever I put the cheaper one on any of my Leica lenses, I can't focus on infinity, which is shocking. So anyway, it pays to get the $100.
I thought your tip was going to be, oh, don't get the fancy one. You don't need it. Do get the fancy one.
You got to get the fancy one.
If you want to focus to infinity. I got a Voigtlander for my Leica lens on my Sony. By the way, that is a great combination. A Leica lens. You have to manually focus. But I get the feeling that Trey, you don't mind that. You take your time with the photo.
I do take my time with the photo, and you'd be shocked how quickly you can focus manually with this focus peaking. It's incredibly sharp, incredibly fast. If people don't know what focus peaking is, it's something you can do with a mirrorless camera. And the electronics in there are looking at the edges. It's doing edge detection. And so it's almost like Call of Duty. Your subject gets outlined in green or red or whatever. And as soon as you see them turn red, you know they're in focus and just shoot away. It's easy.
Actually, I was fighting this for the longest time, but the Sony makes it so easy. It also has a magnification feature, so you can zoom in, double time magnification, do the peaking, and you're going to actually have better focus than any automatic focus. Oh, look at that! That is a bamboo forest. Where is that?
That's in Kyoto, Japan.
That is lovely. What's your favorite place to take pictures?
Well, probably Burning Man. This will be my 6th year to go there, and it's great for all kinds of experimentation, but especially photography experimentation.
You get great images from Burning Man. Yeah. Some of the best images I've ever seen. But now, is it all HDR? Is that all you do these days, or?
No, not at all, really. Maybe only about 60 or 70% of my work is HDR, and really it's sort of a fluid, variable gray thing. Call it 50 Shades of Trey. And the way it works is I do make a very strong, extreme HDR on drugs image, okay? But then I also have the original RAW file that I adjust in Lightroom and I make look pretty, okay? Then I have 2 different interpretations of a scene, and I layer them, and I pull together different parts of the photo that I think make sense. And in that way, the photo becomes a totally unique creation. So it's always a hybrid, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but not HDR, not tone mapping. You use Photoshop to mix and match with the various images, and you can see light is everything for you. The way you use light, where you observe light, the way you record it is spectacular. I mean, that really, look at that. And I can see why you like Burning Man, because the light is so amazing.
Yeah, it's a great place. People are very open, and at first, before I went, honestly, I thought, oh, these are all these hedonist hippies, and it's just going to be this total hedonism nonstop. But it's actually not like that. It's just people that are comfortable with their own sense of self-expression or becoming comfortable with it. And I think everyone loves to take photos of people. Like Mike was saying, when you travel, sometimes you want to take photos of people, but you're a little scared. You don't want them to, punch you or get upset or anything. But this is a great place for people photography because 99.9% of people are super happy with you taking their photo. So it's great for that kind of experimentation.
I know you know that Jim Cutler is here. He's our great voiceover guy and a pro photographer himself. There he is. Jim, you had you had a question for Trey.
I am a major Trey fan. New Zealand, this is New York calling. I have learned so much from you. I cannot recommend this guy enough to follow his tutorials. My favorite Trey quote is, small people like to talk about other people. Big people like to talk about ideas. And that is so completely Trey. One other point I want to make, that stuck in customs has more than one meaning. Of course, it means travel. But it also means don't get stuck in the same one type of photography. That many of us like to do more than that. We consider our cameras as just collectors of light. And then what you do with that in processing and in the fun is what it's all about. And that's another thing I got from Trey. My question is that a long time ago you mentioned that you thought that Google was going to offer a service eventually where you'd upload photos and Google would process it. I thought maybe that was coming in the Google Apps photo. Is that still coming, Trey? Is that something you see?
Well, first, let me thank you for saying those really sweet things. That's super kind of you. I appreciate you very much for that. Very much. So what I think is actually going to happen with Google is, I'm a big Google fanboy, and I think the new Photos thing is super sweet. I'm not worried about the RAW support because, I think really professionals keep RAWs locally so you can work on them, and you have a few backups locally. That's not that difficult. Eventually, it'd be nice to mirror those in the cloud, but until then, it's not the end of the world. But everything else Google Photos is doing is amazing, and I have full faith that machine learning and machine categorization will be way better than my own categorization in the meantime in this hybrid world. But what I do think Google is going to do next, this is my hot sports opinion, is that if you look at Instagram, they claim to have 300 million users. Well, there's over 1 billion Androids out there, and everyone is taking photos. So there's more than twice as many people not on Instagram as there are on Instagram. And they're all uploading their photos to Google. Now, all those, 600, 700, 800 million people, they all have friends, they all have their own social networks, so on and so forth. So even now, Instagram right now looks to be the king. If they do some kind of streaming and sharing of your photos with those other 800 million people, I mean, that could be super disruptive, and that could come, next year or something. This is just a guess. I have no inside scoop, but they ought to do it.
How do you use Instagram?
I put my stuff everywhere. I don't have anyone else handle my social media. I have a really cool app on my Mac, actually, and I can just right-click on a photo, a JPEG, and I can send it to Instagram. So it's in the Mac App Store. I think it costs like $1 or something. And so I upload a lot of stuff to Instagram, probably 3 or 4 photos a day. Engagement is fantastic over there. Really great audience there.
It's ironic because when I first started using it, I got mad at people like you who put SLR pictures up there. I said, this is for iPhone photography and then later Android camera phone photography. This is not for you professionals.
Big cheater.
But now I do it too.
So Trey, are you tagging or putting any sort of captioning with your photos or just throwing the photos up there?
I do. I put a few hashtags in. I don't even know if they do any good, but I just put them in anyway. Because I know like some people want to come to Queenstown and they're about to come to Queenstown, so they might have recently clicked on pound Queenstown. And I want them to have a good view of my home or whatever. It's a nice way for people to discover you, and it's a good way when I'm bored, I'm just sitting there, and I might just click on one of my own tags and say, like, who else is in this area? What's going on? So it's just kind of a fun, orthogonal, social way to interact with people.
By the way, Trey used to be a geek. That's why he uses words like orthogonal.
Orthogonal, yeah. That was, I like that.
How long have you, this is the thing that drives me nuts. How long have you been a professional photographer?
Well, actually, I just put up the whole story. We just did a TEDx that was just published a few days ago. And so the full story is up there. I'll just give you this super quick 20-second one, is that I had a normal, I guess, sort of IT life, entrepreneurial tech kind of life, very left-brained. And when I turned 35, I got my first DSLR, my first serious camera. And now I'm 43. So I've been doing it for 8 years. And really, for those first few years, absolutely nobody paid attention.
8 years. That's an inspiration.
It just goes to show I'm honestly not special. I'm just very curious, and it shows how far curiosity can get you. Yeah. And don't listen to other people. If people give you bad comments on your photos, just ignore them because you might really be onto something that they don't understand. So just go for it. Don't hold back.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Follow your dream. Follow your bliss. And obviously, Trey followed it all the way to a hobbit house in Queenstown, New Zealand, which looks awesome, I have to say.
Yes, we'll pop over here anytime. You always have an open invite. Either you guys.
We should go.
Let's go. Let's do the show from Queenstown next week.
Screensavers on the road. Let's do it.
Actually, to coin a phrase, winter is coming. So maybe I'll wait till next summer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Trey Ratcliff. Again, the Arcanum. Where do people find that?
Just go to thearcanum.com. It's totally free and really fun to fill out an application. And once you fill it out, you might get an invite from a master in your inbox, and you'll see their little Meet the Master video. Then you'll decide, like, should I go with this person for a few months? Maybe they'll take me to the next level. So you have all the power, but you got to go fill out an application to begin with.
And of course, Trey Ratcliff's website is stuckincustoms.com. That's where you can see so many images. You can get his HDR tricks, his HDR tutorials, and just so much more. Trey, I love you. I miss you. I look forward to seeing you. You just got back from Venice. I'm so jealous. That looked great. You're going to do that again next year?
Yeah, we have a big event there next year. It's sold out.
Already?
Fortunately or unfortunately. Yeah, it actually sold out in less than 48 hours when we put it up.
You're doing
Before you send him off, can I tell a quick Trey Ratcliff story?
Please do, yeah.
My wife and I went to Morocco, and there was something about Morocco that made me think, the whole time I was there, I wish either Trey Ratcliff were here or I was Trey Ratcliff, because his vision would be ideal for this place. And then sometime after that, he went. And I was so thrilled.
And great pictures can ensue.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thanks. I was excited to see your photos, Mike. I follow you closely, and I see all the stuff you put up. I don't always get to comment, but I see it all. And so I was thinking, oh, man, I'm so excited to go there. You really got my juices going for Morocco, so thank you.
That's great. And, well, we're going to let you go, Trey, and we're going to let you go, too, Jim Cutler. Thank you so much for being here. You know, there's something in common about all these people. They're just great. Yeah. They're really great people. Before we wrap up, can we do a quick hot button? I know we're kind of running long here. But it's driving me crazy. For the longest time, I mean, you're still a Google fan.
Yep.
You were an Android lover.
Right.
You went iPhone on us.
Yeah.
So our hot button today, Android versus iOS. What's the one true operating system? Why iOS?
Windows Phone? No. I mean, I was a big Windows user for a long time, and at some point I became a Mac user. And
you were editor-in-chief of a Windows magazine.
Yeah, Windows Magazine. The Windows Magazine.
Not a Windows
That's
magazine.
That's right. And I used that until well into the aughts, and then at some point became a sort of, OS X fan. And I think that Apple and iPhone is probably my default choice anyway, but I'm a user interface freak. So when the Moto X came out, I really wanted the Moto X. I wanted to talk to the phone without sort of any, I love that idea. I love to write about it and stuff like that. So I used a Moto X, and I had a Nexus as well. So I was into Android for a while. It was great. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But then a couple of things happened that made me want to go back to iPhone. The first and foremost was the Apple Watch. I'd been, before it came out, I'd been reading about what they were working on, and I got really excited about it for the same reason. The interface. I love the Taptic engine. I love the super high resolution screen. I love the tap to press. What do they call it? The
Force Touch.
Yeah, Force Touch. All of that stuff combined, I had a lot of confidence that Apple would come out with a really great watch, and I think they really have. And of course, a lot of the new stuff that comes out on iPhone first, and we saw that with Meerkat and Periscope, for example. Exactly. A lot of things come out on Android first. A lot of things. But I think for the most of the things that I would want to get in on first, they come out on iOS. And for that reason, the fact that I also use OS X and an iPad, and I love the watch, and knew I would love the watch, I sort of went with an iPhone when it came out, the iPhone 6.
Do you still use your Chromebook?
No, I don't. But once again, I'm thinking about moving back to the Chromebook after I am done with the MacBook Pro.
That's one thing I find frustrating is that while Google is fairly open and cross-platform, Microsoft is becoming fairly open and cross-platform. Apple's going the opposite direction.
Yes.
They really want to lock you in. We got a call today on the radio show, and I get it almost every week. I'm using Messages, my friends are using Messages, and I'm using an Android phone, and I don't get invited to any of their parties because group messaging doesn't work with me. And that's not Android's fault. That's Apple's fault.
Right. Apple is
an
alternative universe, and you either are all into Apple, for the most part, or you're like with the real world. So you kind of have to make your there are benefits to being in the Apple universe. They have a lot of control over everything, and we're familiar with all the cliches around a closed system and the benefits thereof. But you have to take a choice. Neither is perfect. You're always going to have.
Neither is perfect.
You're always going to have envy of the other side. I think to a certain extent.
I'm going to reveal for the first time ever the real reason that I stick with Android phones.
Okay.
You can only buy a new iPhone once a year. I can get a new Android phone almost every month. and I like it.
Is that a bug or a feature? That sounds expensive.
That's our hot button. Let's get some email. Time for the mailbag. This magic mail. Oh, look.
Hey,
here's
look.
a mug. There's a mug in here. Is this for Mike? You know, I think from now on we should have little gifts for the co-hosts in here.
I agree. I think starting this episode.
What should we have put in there? A little chocolate?
Squirrel.
A squirrel? We put a raccoon in there for Kevin Rose. Here, you take a couple.
Okay.
Go ahead and start.
All right. Okay, well, now the mug is explained. Hey, Leo.
Yeah.
How do I get one of those huge Twit coffee mugs? Thanks, Todd from Old Bridge, Virginia.
You know what? We actually didn't make these. Our friends and sponsors at IT Pro TV sent these to us, and they're such gigantic mugs. But to be honest, I don't even know. But you can see it's kind of handwritten on there in magic marker, and then fired. So you could just make your own, I guess. Do we have a store where I think there are places where you can get Twit mugs, aren't there? Anyway, it's a one-off or two-off.
Todd, give me a call.
Or call
make me an offer.
Call out to IT Pro TV.
I'll send you one for the right price, right off Leo's desk.
Here's one for you. As a person who can't afford or would rather wait for version 2 or 3 of the Apple Watch, is the Pebble Steel or the new one, the Pebble Time, a good alternative? And this comes from Jay, who's from Sydney, Australia. We're going to do a review of the Pebble Time. Miriam Jouar, who used to work at Pebble, will get one. They just started shipping this week. Right. She'll have that for us soon, next month, I think. Yeah. What do you think?
I think the answer is yes. It's a great watch. I think, you know, some of the Android Wear watches are fantastic. The Apple Watch is fantastic. And the Pebble is up there with them. You just have to choose your features, which you like, which things you want, which you don't.
Isn't Pebble a little limited on iOS because Apple won't give them access to all the same things? Right?
Absolutely. I mean, you can get notifications, some of the standard things, and there's many things you can't do.
Right.
But, you know, there's another thing you can do. You can go for a week without recharging the thing.
That's a big advantage.
And the screen is great. It looks fantastic. It's a great watch for people who want the things that it can do that no other watch can do. It's just a matter of personal preference.
Time just started shipping this week to Pebble, to Kickstarter backers. You'll start getting yours in the next few weeks. And I think that you can go online and do a pre-order, I think, later in June if you want. And we'll have our review with Miriam next week. Yep. Last question, I think you have it.
Okay, all right. Let's see. Well, that's the coffee mug one. Okay, hey, Leo. I listen to most of the shows on the Twit network, and I don't think I've heard this question before. I don't sign on to any website that needs a password when on open Wi-Fi, but I have apps with username and password and email account info on my phone and tablet. Can that login info be at risk when using open Wi-Fi?
Absolutely. That really depends on the app. So what he's asking is, when I open an app on my phone, are those credentials being sent in the clear over the open Wi-Fi where somebody could get it? And it really depends. It's one of the reasons Facebook recently, last year, moved to HTTPS everywhere, so it's secure when you log on to Facebook. Even using the Facebook app, it's secure. And that's good news. If you're using Facebook or Google Connect or Twitter to log on to apps, many apps allow you to do that. In all 3 cases, those are encrypted using SSL as they fly through the air. But, you know, other apps may not be. And that's something that it's an interesting question because I don't think it's exposed. I don't think the apps tell you necessarily whether their communications are encrypted or not. So I think we're going to have to look into that and maybe make a list. Or something like that. Right. You know, because that is a big issue.
I think all you can do is just do all the standard security things, insist on HTTPS websites, use two-factor authentication on wherever you can. You know, a lot of times you can't. Avoid logging onto open Wi-Fi networks that look a little dodgy or sketchy. Beyond that, you can't have perfect security.
But many apps do use Google, Facebook, and Twitter Connect, and those systems will protect you. So do use those. You know, sometimes you have a choice between setting up your own account or using those. I would use those. I know I don't want to give information to these guys, but there is that advantage, and I think that kind of security is really a very good idea. The good news is Google is pushing hard to put HTTPS everywhere. They have already said that we're going to give you a better ranking if you're an HTTPS site. I think the writing's on the wall that soon the entire web will be encrypted. I interviewed the father of the internet, Vint Cerf, last year, and I asked him, was there any mistake you made in the design of TCP/IP, the protocol of the internet? He said, is there anything you'd do differently today? And he said, yes, there is one thing I would do differently. I would encrypt. I would build encryption into TCP/IP. We didn't at the time because good encryption wasn't widely available. It was computationally intensive, and the computers of those days couldn't do it. And really, we didn't really think of it, he said. It was a great interview with Vince Cerf for Triangulation from April of last year. Episode 148, if you want to listen to it again. Google's making, I think, a concerted effort to change all that. In fact, I'm proud to say our new website, twit.tv, will be fully encrypted end-to-end with SSL, thanks to our friends at DigiCert, who provided us with the wildcard cert.
And it's the only website you're ever going to need.
That's all you need.
Let's be honest.
That's all you need. Mike Elgin, we really appreciate it. It's nice to see you on a weekend in casual attire.
Yes.
You can catch Mike every Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific. That's 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 1700 UTC for TNT, or Daily Dose of Tech News every Monday through Friday.
And we are having a good time on TNT.
Must watch.
Yeah.
Boy, you get the best people on there and the conversations. And I want to apologize because I took the helm on Thursday before Google I/O, and I'm afraid it was a little bit short.
It was awesome. I watched the whole, I sat there in the Google I/O auditorium waiting for that to start. I saw the whole show. It was great.
Didn't take long. Here's the good news. Very little bandwidth involved. It gave me a great appreciation for how hard you work. We want to thank all the folks in our live studio audience. We've got viewers from all over the world. We've got a viewer who does his own podcast, Linux AU, an Australian podcast about Linux. If you want to join us in studio, we love having you. Wave, there he is. See, Linux IU, there you go.
System IU.
I'm sorry, System AU. Yeah. It is a Linux podcast. It is.
And you have to speak Australian to understand.
Oh, that's true. It is in a foreign language.
Okay.
If you want to be here in the studio, we love having you. Tickets at twit.tv. Do email us. Make sure there's room because we have a little bit of a limited space when we do this show. We move around a lot, but we would love to have you. And of course, we do it every Saturday afternoon right after the Tech Guy show. It varies, but it's around about 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 2200 UTC if you want to stop by and watch. We'd love having you. Either way, you can get an on-demand download of every single show we do at our website, twit.tv. The new website's coming Wednesday, maybe. I'm thinking June 2nd, 3rd, soon.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a little scary.
Yeah.
And you can also get it at iTunes and wherever you get your podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn Internet Radio, Spotify now. We should mention that Spotify is beta on iOS right now.
And Deezer.
And Deezer.
Yes.
Don't forget to get it on Deezer. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time on the new Screensavers. Bye-bye.